Hey everyone, how you doing today? Thought I would do a new build today, or start a new build today. Of something that I haven't built in a little while again, and I've been kind of pessimistic on building that kind of thing, and that is a SV. But I did get this Kriel uh, Elder-Bahamut out to the workshop, so I'm pretty happy about that. It's complete, I believe. I think it doesn't have any flaws or bugs that I know of at the time, at least. Um, and just final things that were done here. Let me go to the nighttime lighting again. I like to do that, particularly on the insides, because then you get to see the illumination of it, which I think is a big element in building ships, or building things in Empyrion as well, because lighting can make a huge difference on how things actually look. Especially when you have a ship like this too, that's primarily going to be in space. You'll really see the darker lighting in it all the time. But things that were done since I last showed it, or the version that I'm using in the Let's Play with Excalibur, is I did get rid of some of the Xeno blocks that I had in some areas, so I could put in like the right texturing. I cleaned up like around the corners there, over here. Um, I also played around a little bit with LCDs. Now I was a little generic on this one. I just kind of put in a more of a generic LCD. I wanted to get some kind of thing up there so you know where the bridge, the core room, and the utility room are in the center part of the ship. But I did make a new LCD over here and kind of redid this area some. But the LCD is, I believe it was Crazy Z gave me heads up on a new command when making LCDs, and that is rotate. And I used it on this LCD. And just to show you what that's about, um, the LCD actually looks like this, but this rotate command here, you can rotate whatever you're placing at whatever angle you want, which is really awesome. Now I didn't do anything too elaborate with this, but I did take like these straight pieces here, which I think if we take a look in the menu of shapes, I used something like a straight line here, I believe. And then I rotated that at 45 degrees, and then you have to position it on each row. But that's how the angles of this triangle thing here was made. Um, and I think that's pretty cool because that opens up like a whole lot more possibilities yet with LCDs. And I've been seeing, some really fancy LCDs by other authors, and uh, yeah, this is just one of those things that you can just do so much with it. In fact, I basically I designed this. I had this cutout area here, and then I tried to make the LCD perfectly match the shape of the blocks around it. So it's nothing special, but it's just it's something. It's better than what I think I had there originally. So anyway, this is up on the workshop, and yeah, check it out. It's a couple other little specs on it too. If you're just using quantum cores to upgrade the ship's CPU to get it to the 4.3 million necessary for the ship to be CPU happy, it will take 11 quantum cores, or it'll take quite a bit less if you're using auxiliary cores as well. So it depends how you set that up. I had to leave all the cores out of the stock ship just so you could mix and match and pick what you want to use to up the CPU. And I did put a big strict warning too. When you first get the ship, like it sits right now, if I try to fly it, I will blow the generators up in it because it's very badly under CPU powered, how it sits. Obviously, it's at 2.1 million CPU, and it needs roughly 4.3 million CPU, which puts it at a really bad efficiency level. This would be actually close to 50%. So, anyway, without further ado, here let's start this SV. Um, and just to explain a little bit what I'm trying to accomplish with this build, and I do plan on it being another Kriel Elder build, is I want it to perform a bit like the Scar DFA, which is kind of a unreleased concept ship that I tried out a version of in game, and I think it had some potential, but I was very worried about its thrust power and its defense and things like that. But obviously, this one wasn't trying to use any quantum cores. But here we are in game, and we've got several, I think like 12 or so, just small HV quantum cores just chilling out in a box, and we don't know what to do with them. So I'm like, well, that kind of sucks, right? Wouldn't it be kind of fun to build some kind of craft that could actually use those cores and do something worthwhile in game? And that is kind of what the goal and objective of this build is. But so what I'm doing right now, and this might seem a little peculiar, is I prefer to build on a planet's surface due to the lighting versus building in space. And what I'm just basically doing here is I want this to, wow, that's weird. I didn't turn on the symmetry, but somehow it just, wait a minute. Wow, this is confusing the crap out of me. I guess it's saying the symmetry plane is on. Yeah. But I didn't set it yet. That's weird. Okay. Sorry, that just startled me because I didn't expect it to do this. I was just going to turn on symmetry, but it was actually doing symmetry already. So, okay, because I like to build on the planet, a lot of times I will do something like this. I'm building a pedestal, and I will rip this core out and put it in the ship, and I'll start building the ship like up here somewhere. So I've got room. Now, in a video I did, a real brief one just before this, I did not build out these arms on the pedestal, thinking no matter what I built up here would not fall over until I got into a pilot seat or something. But it proved me wrong, and actually I started building this out and I extended a little bit on the front, and then it tipped over on me. And I'm like, oh great, so let's just start the video over and start again. I didn't really like what I was doing anyway, so so the idea of this is I want it to be a bit spread out. I want it to have even more firepower than what the DFA does, but bigger, faster, thrustier, and I don't really care about CPU costs very much. So that's kind of where I'm at with this. So right now I'm trying to think of a neat design for like the shaping of it, and I'm thinking this is going to be another Kriel Elder creation. And as I'm doing these Kriel Elder creations, and I don't plan on doing a huge number of them, and I don't plan on having any starter-like things for this sub-faction of Kriel. I think they're going to be reserved only for very high-end, probably quantum core using things. And the regular Kriel can handle, you know, the starter stuff and the mid-game stuff and all that stuff. The Elders are just your high-end stuff, which is kind of fun for me too anyway, because I'm really tired of building starter things. But built a lot of starter things, and I have a lot more fun typically building bigger, more elaborate things, generally speaking. So, okay, a big point of this is it's going to want to have a bunch of turrets facing downward again, so you can fly over your target and bombard it. And I'm trying to think on a good way to pull this off, and I kind of want it spread out a little bit too. So, and fierce and exotic looking. So, I mean, I got a lot of qualifications I want. Whether I'll hit them all, I don't know, but you can have goals. So here, let's start at the front here. I think one of the first things I want to do here is kind of get some kind of bevel action going on here on the front. Probably, again, probably be multiple bevels. Yeah, let's start there and run this out a little bit and see where it ends up at. So do a couple of those, and we'll just kind of follow that through here. Okay, so then we get up to this point, and I kind of want to change the angle again once it gets up to a certain area. So something like that. And then over here, we're going to swing over to this other angle set. Something like this. Give us kind of this sharp front on it, which, yeah, I kind of want everything on here to be kind of sharp and jaggy and spiky and all that kind of fun stuff again. So it's gonna try to fit in the looks of the Bahamut, but obviously being SV and quite a lot different. So okay, so cockpit. Haven't really thought about that too much yet on this one. Now, there's two ways you can do cockpits on SVs. You can obviously build an interior and then have a first-person cockpit, which I do like, and especially for immersion. But when you're building combat things, it's weak. It's not as strong as putting in a prefab cockpit, unfortunately. But everything could change, and honestly, none of these cockpits are going to look like what I'm trying to accomplish. Or I could just have a third-person cockpit only, and you sit inside the ship. But man, I'd like to do a first-person. I prefer first-person, but I fear that if I use any of these prefabs, I'm going to lose my immersion or the looks I'm trying to accomplish. Because I don't think any of these would look alien. They all look human. Any way I do it, you know. So, let's skip the cockpit for now. That's gonna mess things up. All right, so we brought this out a little bit. Let's bring this out a little bit more, but let's leave a bevel line in between this this angled shape and the next layer down. So I think what I'm going to want to do is get back into this wedge shape. And we'll kind of like line this up like we're going to put in one of these blocks here. But instead of like lining it directly up to where it should fit, I'm going to go one half block past that. So we've got the bevel line starting here, which is going to give us this nice little kind of lip there. I do that quite a bit on different creations there. Stop there with that. Again, a lot of this is going to have to be about how I'm going to mount the turrets, and I'm not sure yet. I guess I'm hoping to have a bit of a breakthrough in the body design and be like, yeah, that's where they should go. And it's going to want a lot of them, so that's another thing. So okay, so now I'm going to change the angle again here, just to really mix it up. So we got one angle, goes to a different angle, lip, continues that same angle, switches back to the other angle. That's kind of how I build a lot of things at this point, is kind of messing with these different angles all the time. Let's extend that out another row at least. Okay. So I think we're just going to want a full block here. And let's see, should this, what angle should this be here? We could probably do this one. Nah, I wonder if we can slim that through there like that. That would be kind of neat to mix it up again on angling. More of these kind of peculiar angles you get into something too, the less and less Minecraft you're going to make something look, at least in my opinion. I mean, because you're no longer seeing like a blocky feel necessarily to it, and that's something I think is kind of nice and important if you're really trying to make some shapely things. Okay, so kind of a weird front end. I'm okay with that so far. It's a little bit like what you see the front end over there being. Okay, so now down the center here. Just thinking about trying to get a little bit of something in here so I can add some neat texture lights or something after the fact. So let's do like that. Alright, so now turrets that can shoot downward on the front part of this ship. Now it's gonna be a lot more back. In fact, let's just try to map some of this out here in a wireframe to kind of get a better understanding of the overall shape of this. So obviously we have our nose, and about this point here, what I was thinking about doing is having it go up a little bit. Maybe something like this. And then inside of here, I'll just kind of make a temporary wall here. So this is kind of like a body line lip, and then we got this indentation just behind that with kind of some solid area, which this might be interior space there. It's pretty narrow right now though. Maybe it'll get wider. And then we'll have some arms that come out from this location somewhere in here. Maybe a couple angled things that will go at probably a 22.5 out this way. A little ways. Something like that. How about one more just for good measure? And then over here on the tips of this, of course I'd like this to fit in a 5 or a 9x5 hangar door as well. So I don't want to go too crazy psycho wide, but wide enough so maybe I can get some a bunch of turrets on here and separate those turrets some. Say it has something like this, and then we'll curve it in again, and maybe even again. So something like that. Okay. So on the back portion of this, thinking, okay, so we got a 22.5 angle, which will be all like beveled out and stuff, but going out to the wings, and then after that, I think I'm going to leave a 3-block space in there, which would be a nice location for potential turrets in the future, and then we'll do a 45 degree heading again to the back part of the ship. Something along those lines, but at some point here, and a certain block row, how about this block row here, we switch it again and go back to a 22.5 to get that slicier angle there. Okay. Something like that, and alright, I can get on board with this so far. Okay, so big thing, thrusters, and I don't really want to run dinky thrusters. I want to put in some pretty beefy, thrusty thrusters for best performance versus CPU. And this, since I'm building this out of combat steel, it's going to be heavy, so it's going to need some power for sure. And I'm trying to think of good ways to accomplish the power. But you see, SVs, like CVs, I built a lot of CVs recently, and I sort of understand how much power you would need for typical CVs. moving them. SVs, I'm not entirely sure, so I'm kind of winging it here. It's been a while. I used to know this, but everything keeps changing, so just kind of looking. I think that ought to come out another row here. Let's just kind of separate those and put that there. That's the thing. Are 4 of these going to be enough to move this thing? See, I don't want to take chances, because if I underestimate the amount of thrusters I do, and then finish up the body and it gets all heavy and things, and then it doesn't perform the way I want it to, which is nimble and quick, I'm going to be disappointed. So I'd rather put in more thrust than I think I would need than not enough. But I'm not sure if I should try to get in one more thruster on this inside here or not. Let's build out some of these blocks here a second. Give us like another thruster mount location. Like that. Let's put this last group one more back. So it's because I do change the angle here too. Alright, so that's just for forward thrust, but there's a lot of other complications too of getting in your lift thrust and your strafing thrust, and it's gonna kind of need all of it to really make this effective and maneuverable, and maybe some damage mitigation by being able to avoid things flying at you. And it's really rough with SVs, really rough. There's no cover in the air. So you're kind of a sitting duck when you're up there flying around. Your best chance is to try to outrun things. But this is going to present a bit of a problem on how and where am I going to get in some solid and pretty large strafing thrust. So here, I'll just build this out a little bit more over here too. I didn't want that nose thing super big because I kind of wanted it to be skinnier up front here, and then you have your bulk of your ship kind of expand out at this point. But the factor of trying to squeeze in these thrusters is kind of a big factor. And maybe the angle over here is just not going to work because it's going to cut it down too much where I can't get the power I want in there, or the thrusters. So, okay, let's leave a block row here too, and I'm going to carve out part of this. We'll just kind of seal this up a bit for now. Look at all that weight. Alright, and then over here, let's see if we can slam in another big thruster. Could actually have it kind of go over the edge a little bit too, so that might be a thing here. To fit that, I'm going to need one more row there. Maybe in one more. Okay, so something like that. That's just one. Now, the thrusters I'm using are these large jet thrusters. They have, and I don't know how to calculate all the force, quite frankly. These do 1.33 mn in their force. Looking at some alternative parts, and these are the ones I'm using here. There's these which are smaller, but they do 713 kN force, so obviously these are more. They use more CPU by about 500, but I think they should be overall more efficient. Now there's these giant son of a guns too. I do 249 mn in force. versus, yeah, so these are, they're not quite double. But they're probably a better bang for the CPU buck, I guess. So let me grab some of these in my inventory too. Oh, why did I grab one? There, 501. Okay, I think that'll work. Holy crap. Holy crap. Wow, these things are something else. I don't recall ever seeing this part of the game before. My God. That is some seriously long thruster. Whew. Crazy thing is, I think I can fit them too. Alright, alright. Let's try this. Let's try this. I think this design might allow something like this to actually work. Yeah, I think so. And maybe with those, I won't need the these other ones here too, because these are psycho thrusters. I don't want to put a big long one over on the side though, so either I remove those or I keep them there. But maybe they should be removed, and maybe I double up on the strafing thrust over here instead. That space. Well, let's see how that's going to work. Of course, I'm trying to keep wall separation between all these thrusters. So if the one on the side gets popped, it doesn't blow up and take out the one in the rear, or vice versa. But I don't know if I've got enough room to fit another one of these in there at the current width of the ship, and have that block row in there. I think that wouldn't work. I'll have to take the thruster that's here and move it out as well, maybe to match where the other one's coming out at. And then again, I don't know if that's going to be enough strafing thrust. Alright. Anyway, all this stuff keeps on getting worked and modified and everything like that. So far we've got, I'm hoping, enough rear thrust between these giant ones, and I'm hoping that's enough strafing thrust. I guess if I needed more, I would have to put in some smaller thrusters that are easier to fit. Okay, so another thing it's going to need is, well, obviously reverse thrust. And reverse thrust is always a nightmare, because you don't want to have that reverse thrust exposed to get blown up. But then trying to find places to fit that, usually in a slim design. And this one I don't want it to be real thick. Kind of want it to be kind of thin and aerodynamic looking. Maybe something like that. And of course, also with the block separation between that and the thrusters, and the other thrusters. Now, doing all the separation like this, I mean, it's got some serious advantages, but it's also got some disadvantages. One, it takes up a lot of space. Two, it adds a lot of weight to your creation. But because this is a combat-oriented ship, or supposed to be, I don't want. Yeah, I'd rather do it right. And have it like this. If I was doing a transport ship or some other kind of SV utility ship, I would probably go for not separating these the way I am, and put in the thrusters that could fit in a smaller space with less of this bulky weight in between them. Alright, so that's kind of where we're at with this. Okay, so that would cover, I believe, I don't know, again, I don't know if it's enough, but reverse thrust, strafing thrust, and forward thrust. So now we've got the up and down thrust to to deal with. Now, lift thrust, because obviously SV would probably be used for taking on POIs on the ground, it's going to need pretty decent lift thrust. Down thrust, again, would be the only direction of thrust I could skimp a little bit on, but I do want it to have enough. It just doesn't need as much as the lift thrust. So where am I going to put these thrusters? And what size am I going to use? I don't think I'm going to bother trying to put in these giant ones for the lift thruster. Just plain and simply too tall to fit into the body in that direction. So let's try, I don't know, maybe 2 to 4 of these things pointing downwards somewhere in this ship. So what I'm going to do, let's try to fit one in over here. Again, walling it off in here for now. And walling off this side. Just so we have our separation. The cost of a heck of a lot of weight. And let's see, we do something like that. But yeah, you know, I almost want to double it up though. So let's put in another row here. And another one of these. And this is just early layout too. So much will probably change before it's done. But just trying to come up with a general idea of the shape of the body. I can already say I don't think this nose is coming out far enough anymore, based on where the rest of the body is. So, and maybe it's just a bit too wide here too. So maybe I'll trim that up a little bit more again. Alright, so that covers a lot of thrust. Now down thrust, like the lift thrust, I'm running 4 of these. Down thrust, I'm thinking of running 2 of them only. And maybe, and I don't have to use necessarily the same size thruster. If I didn't, I would probably want to go with these 2x2x5 ones, medium jet thrusters here. Let's see how that works out. Certainly easier to fit. Then again, is that going to be enough? I don't know. The only thing I don't... I guess that works. So I'd like to put in another one side by side. I'd like to actually run 4 of these, but I'm running out of locations to possibly dump them. They don't fit evenly between this. Well, let's just see how that works out right now. Maybe I can, again, fit in some little dinky ones somewhere else or find another nice home for them once a lot of this gets worked a little bit more. Alright, so here, I'm going to get in here and we're going to do a little copy paste for now. Let's just start about here. I want to take what I've got for this nose and bring it out a little bit further. I think that's all of it. So we're just going to do a cut, paste. Say we go out. Let's bring it out. How about 3 more blocks? Put it there. And I'm going to get rid of where it flares out here for now. Oh, I better turn symmetry back on too. Alright. So this is the relative size. Just kind of curious a little bit. How does that compare to some past ships that were made? Let me just bring in something that was pretty big. How about like a MX-14? That was a pretty decent sized SV. I'm not sure why I can't spawn this. Probably further to the east or west. Okay. I guess I'm close to a pole? I don't know. Well, whatever. So, here we are. So, yeah, kind of similar in size overall. A little bit skinnier. Just wanted to see where this thing came out at CPU at 136,000. Oof. Oof. All right. Okay, so pretty happy right now, but here's the big thing. It's got to hold a massive amount of turrets that can shoot downward. So how is that going to work out? And now I'm wondering if I shouldn't have built this entire platform up higher. In fact, you know what? I'm going to, because I think it's getting too close to the ground. It's going to cause problems building the rest of this. So let's get back to selection, and this time I'm going to literally copy the entire top of the ship and raise it up. We'll see if it balances too. I'm not sure if it's just going to collapse when I try to do this. I hope not. Okay, so I think that's it. Cut, paste. Let's raise you up a little bit. So we got some wiggle room there, and let's try to paste you in the air there. I think it should be happy with that. Turn symmetry back on. Okay, so now we got a little bit of room on the bottom. Okay, so turrets. This is where it's going to get tricky, and I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to pull this one off yet. I wanted the turrets to be at this angle. Probably actually facing straight downward, like that. So it's going to have to hold these things that way. I don't think it's going to be necessarily wonderful for looks, but I think for what I'm trying to accomplish with it is necessary. So let's just build out some areas here a minute and try to figure out how some of these could fit. And of course, like everything else, I'm trying to leave like a block row in between each turret. Again, having to do with explosion damage and things like that. So we could obviously pop a couple turrets there, but that's not even close to what I wanted to run on this. I'm wondering if we shouldn't just, we'll do a wall here. Now, so many of these blocks will change. I mean, I'm just putting in square blocks, and for the most part right now, to get positioning going. I'm really, I guess that whole thing is at that angle, isn't it? It looked like it was crooked. All right. So let's say we had a couple more turrets over there. Let's see, where else could we stick some turrets? But kind of getting an idea on where all these things are going to go. I mean, obviously it can change some, but at least you get a general ballpark idea on the shape that you're going to need to accommodate the parts you're trying to place. And that is what this whole video kind of is about, is to try to establish the layout first and then go in and try to make it pretty. one way or another. Okay, so that would put in, what do we got? 8. Okay, so we're at 12 turrets facing downward. I'm using the plasma turrets as a placeholder right now because their higher CPU would give me a better idea on where things are going to be coming out at, because I didn't want to necessarily run cheap turrets on this. It's going to be a quantum using beast. It's going to be, I don't know how many quantum cores it will need or equivalent, but it's going to need, I'm sure, quite a few. Okay, so here's another concept. What if there was another row that came out over here at some point? Oh, let's see how many. 6. Probably need to go that far back. It looks kind of silly right now for sure, but a couple more turrets over there. Not liking the aesthetics of that though. Nah, I don't like the aesthetics at all of that. Probably work though, but it looks, yeah. So maybe I should be looking at turrets up along the edges over here somewhere. So let's say it didn't get any skinnier than this. Well, maybe it'll probably widen up here again. In fact, let's do a little bit of that. Let's go super spiky. No, not that one. This one. That one. Spiky. This might be a bit on the extreme spiky side too, but okay. Point of doing all that was so we could maybe squish in some more downward facing turrets in this general vicinity. About there and there. See, now on the SCAR DFA, it was doing less turrets, and it was kind of staggering like one layer over the other layer, like that. Which actually, I mean, it works because they were all able to shoot downward. But this one, I just wanted it to be a wider body design to start with. The problem with a lot of the designs now, especially with the explodey damage, is the fact that these compact designs like this are powder kegs. Even with part separation in there, you get hit by something that has a larger blast radius, it's going to affect more parts, or blocks, or just damage the structure. Having things separated more gives you, I think, less damage, because it's not gonna, less blocks are going to be affected when you get hit by something that does explosion radius, potentially. And I'm trying to fit more parts on this one than what that one had too, so there's a couple aspects, or at least the way I'm kind of viewing it, at least. So now let's just take a look at what the current CPU is. So I think I'm curious. I want to know what the base CPU is. It's been a while since I built a SV, and I'm not entirely sure anymore. So let's grab all the core blocks here a second. Oh, I don't have any generators in here either, so I just want to lay these in somewhere for now. Let's just put them on the pedestal. So we got that. 2 of those, and then we need 5 of these. 1, 2, there. Okay, so that should be a maximum CPU without quantum cores. Okay, it is 60,000. I thought it was. Just wasn't 100% on that. So So 60,000 CPU would be, without the use of quantum cores, your maximum CPU. Obviously, what I've got here already could not work because it has literally no generators or other parts to make any of this work. So it's definitely going to be a quantum creation. Alright. So now these don't need to fire upwards, so I can literally put like stuff over the top of that. And again, I'm not so sure if I got as many turrets as I want on here facing downward yet. I think we've got, what, 12, 16. It's pretty good though. 16 isn't bad. Especially if they're all plasma like this, I think that would be able to do quite a lot of damage from an SV. But there's some other turrets too that are interesting. And these things, might want to try to put a couple of these on there somewhere too. Now what I'm not worried about is shooting forward on this design. So I don't really want to put any fixed weapons. If I do, it would be maybe 2 to 4 Gatling guns, only for you to shoot at drones that might be in front of you. But usually, I think that the idea of this one is you keep moving. And it was, obviously I would like this to be, I would like an SV that could take down a tougher POI, a shielded POI, like a drone base or something like that, on its own. And an SV like this would be very expensive, so I would want it to have like some kind of useful capabilities like that if it's going to be an SV. And I would like to bring some life back to SVs too, because right now I think they're so crapped on with everything, especially going on in Reforged Eden, that there's just like no point to these things. But they can be some of the most detailed creations that you can build due to the block size and stuff like that. So as an artist standpoint, SVs are, or small block creations are the most detailed you can make. It's just they don't have much purpose right now. And it would be nice to find some good purpose for them. Alright, so up here. Just trying to think on how to do this neck here a minute. Let's straighten that out for a second. Right here. And let's use an alternative block. Let's try that instead. So we get the angle, plus it kind of flattens that out. Pop in one of those. And then let's take this other part and try to trim it in again. Again, I want this to be kind of skinny and not look like it's a big bulk mass. And a little more aerodynamic. If possible. I kind of miss those other blocks. Let me see, are those available for SVs as well? They are, actually. So I did like these, but I don't know if I can pull it off with this design. I like this, and I used it on the Elder over there. Is because it's like the only thing that can do a 3-to-1 angle. But there's obviously only this one block, so you don't have any support blocks for it, like wedge shapes or anything you can do at this angle. It's just for that. But that can come in handy if you're trying to do some kind of neat looking body lines, like say we start out this angle here. That would be too far. Like something like that. You can put in an angle that's not natively in the game. And again, this was largely based upon that. They're used there, here, backside of the wing there, on these arms over here. So I used that block quite extensively on this creation. But kind of throws you off a little bit too, because it's kind of like doing angles you don't normally see in the game. And that's purely because of this new block. Now, this block isn't terribly tough, though. It's just a steel block, so it's kind of more of a decorative thing than anything else. That would be kind of neat, having an angle like that, but I'm starting to think that maybe I should pull this forward, or let's take the inner part of it, and we'll swap the angle to something else there. Try 22.5 here first, see if that works out. And then maybe here could, let's go with 22.5 in the other direction here. Now, oops. Okay, I think I actually want to change that, and we'll run that angle there, and we'll start the 22.5 angle going out this way directly after that, so we can widen this area up a bit, which might give us some more valuable space to do things with. Providing it looks alright aesthetically. Alright. Well, so far so good. I guess at the end of the day, is it going to have enough thrust? Is it going to be protected enough? How are you going to get in it? Is it going to have an interior? How much interior is it going to have? So yeah, some things. Like right now, the way I've got the back set up, I can already say that these are too hot to run any kind of interior space between them, or put in a door that, you know, even the doors I like to use, especially if even they're 3x3 doors, this is 3 blocks, that means the hallway would be directly pressed up against a thruster, or a very, very skinny hallway that would still fry you. So no rear entry on this one, the way it's configured now at least. So where are you going to get in the ship at? Where is it safe enough that you could fit a 3x3 door in? And I'm thinking like somewhere out on the sides over here. Like, let's just say, for instance, there. I do wish SVs and HVs alike had more options for doors. They're really limited, and these doors are weaker than you can imagine, which really sucks. Just for the heck of it, do SVs have blast doors? I don't believe so. No, that's only CBs and bases. Okay. Just thought I'd double check. If it did, I would have ran those instead. Okay, some other aspects. It's also got to be able to land. Okay, so alright, so interior space on this thing would pretty much be in the front of the ship. Not a large area. Figure all this would be like walled off for the most part. And if you use any of the space here, it's going to be really hot and right next to potential exploding thrusters. say, okay, here's our interior compartment. And that kind of leaves the front of the ship for some space. And the rest of it is pretty much just blocks and thrusters and turrets. So not a lot of interior. But, yeah, doesn't necessarily need a lot of interior for any particular reason. It's designed to, well, hopefully, being built to take on POIs, not to move troops or lots of cargo or anything like that. Aesthetically, though, I got to figure out a block formation to put over these wing sections to make them look kind of neat. Trying to think on what could be done with that. I want to run some sharp angles. So I'll probably have to start with this set. And I can do that on both the outside and the inside. I didn't want it bulky either. That's where it gets a little tricky. Oops. So that's too bulky. Just too wide from here to here. Maybe I scrap the inner angle and put the outer angle in close. Oops. Put the outer angle in closer, and let's try. Let's start there and drag this out a little bit in each direction. Shave some of that off. And let's manipulate the angle here to the other set. Okay, so here, let's take that and reverse it. Oops. There we go. Okay, and then back to the other set. Right, I think so. So these are actually keep on coming forward. Couple other things I haven't really thought about too is placement of generators and things, but you know, this back area, the generators for SVs at least they're only one block wide, so I'm thinking that would actually provide. Oops, ran out of blocks quickly there. Let's grab some more. So down in this center area that's really not used for anything else would be an excellent place to put in parts such as generators and maybe core blocks and other things like that. Let's see what's our best generator for SV at this point in time. Things change so frequently that it's hard to keep up with, quite frankly. I know I don't want that kind of generator though. That was the older type. I could have swore there was an advanced generator for SVs, but maybe I'm mistaken on that. Oh yeah, there it is. We want this kind of generator. Oh, I already had them. Oh. So, I mean, we could do something like that, and we could separate those as well. And they fit in there pretty good. I'd like to leave this back area open for aesthetics again. Maybe try to do some block shaping to kind of keep that center openness in the end. And I'm pretty sure it would need more than 3 generators too. Probably closer to 8 or something, I bet. Just guesstimating. But for now, let's just dump in a couple more here. That would be 6. What I'm really curious about though is how heavy is this going to be? How's it really going to fly? How much lift power is it going to have? Is it going to be enough? Can it do max speed while having a full ammo supply for all the turrets? And another thing too, basically a ship like this, what's going to happen is you're going to fly around and you could like fly over your target, and these turrets will do pretty good damage. But you're going to have these missiles that are going to home you in, and there's no escaping them for a long distance. So you're going to want to keep moving. At maximum speed. If you slow down just a little bit, the missiles will catch you and start hitting the back of the ship, and they'll probably target whatever's sticking out the most. Probably these thrusters here. And when you start taking damage there, and it takes out one of these thrusters, then you can no longer do top speed, and then everything's going to hit you, and you're just going to get devastated. So I'm trying to avoid that. In this design, that was a problem with the DFA. The DFA could barely have had enough thrusters. If everything was intact, it could do just barely max speed for an SV, which I think was like 60 or 70. But soon as something happens, soon as you get hit somewhere, and you say you lose a couple of these little dinky thrusters or one of these bigger ones up here, the ship would slow down. It would only do like 35, 40, and then, man, you're just dead in the water. You can't outrun the stuff coming at you. You can't avoid it. It homes you in, and you're just toast at that point in time. And that was kind of a problem with this one. Is like I didn't know what to do about that. I couldn't add any more thrusters to it. And I could, but I would have to remove some of its weaponry, and if I did that, then it kind of defeats the point of what it was trying to accomplish. But this one, since I'm using more CPU, I can get away with it. So I don't know, call it cheating, but it's again trying to find a use for an SV in a combat role, because right now the only use I've got for SV, literally, in Reforged Eden, that is a early game starter, scout, or a miner, and everything else there's just no use for. Not storage, not definitely not combat. I mean, so that's kind of why I wanted to build one of these again. Give it a third attempt. And play with some quantum cores and try to make an exotic looking thing. But I'll stop where I'm at here right now on this one, and continue this on another session here, or another video, trying to further along the body and get everything else done, and maybe give it a test fly to see how it's going to work out, and then try to make it look as pretty as possible. with the present configuration. I think maybe it does have enough turrets right now, downward facing turrets. I think the last count was, what, 16, which is quite a few more than what the DFA had. I think by about 6 or so. I think that had like 10 on it. But this is also sporting much bigger thrust, but is also using combat steel for the hull material instead of hardened steel. I didn't even realize combat steel was an option for SVs until I looked in Reforged Eden at least, but I don't know if that translates to vanilla as well, so I don't know. When I built the DFA, I thought the best hull material I could do for SVs was hardened steel, and I'm kind of shocked now to see that the combat steel is also usable with SVs, which could put them on a better level versus like the tanks. Speaking of that too, supposedly there's a couple different shields now for SVs too, and did want to see what they are, where they are. Mobile shield generator. Okay, so that would be the cheapie, right? In case you can upgrade this to a heavy shield generator. Does it just have a heavy shield generator though? Doesn't look like it. Oh wait. Oh. Well, it does. But it's showing at only 4 HVs. I'm confused. Okay, so I can't put that on there because that's for HVs. That's weird. Okay, so SVs. Parts. Oh, there it is. Why didn't it show up when I searched for it? I have no idea. Okay, well anyway, there is a heavy shield generator. That's all I wanted. And I don't care where this goes right now. It's temporary location. Just wanted to take a look. How much CPU does that take up? Like matter, so 12,000. And this one took up 2,000. Holy crap! So that's 10,000 more CPU for the heavy shield. So let's see, hit point capacity 3,500, 750. Okay, considerably more. Let's just want to take a look at HVs. I am a little it's weird. I'm looking at the HV parts too, and it's like, why don't some of these parts show up, like the heavy shield generator? Okay, so HV standard shield, 2,500 CPU. Okay, so it is a 500 more. Hit point capacity 1250, so it is from 750 to 1250, so it's quite a bit more. So let's go for heavy, or oh, I know. I just seen him. Why do I not see him now again? Shield. So weird. I don't see him listed here, but we just literally witnessed that other shield. It's right here. Heavy shield generator for HV's blue. 5,000 CPU. 3,500 hit point capacity versus the SV. 3,500 hit point capacity. So, okay, so we're on equal playing field, except the HV one takes a whole lot less CPU than the SV one. But the same amount of hit points or damage. Okay, well, it's good to know. Not sure why it doesn't appear in the list here, though. and why even when I search for it, it doesn't show up. And how did I find it in the first place is the big question. Maybe I just gotta not be searching in anything specific. That seems to be the deal. And they all show up this way. Alright. Compact shield generator. Heavy shield generator. SV. Mobile shield generator. HV. And it still doesn't show up in the list. Wait a minute. Light. Heavy. Okay, this. Okay, so green is SV. Blue is HV. What's this then? Standard shield generator, 6,000. And that's for this. Okay, so standard, a light, and a heavy? Oh, okay, so there's 3 different variants. Well, learning stuff. It's a bit new. It's kind of like, yeah, I built SVs before, but I mean, there's so many new parts and so many things that have keep changing that it's every time you go to build another one after a period of time, a few months for me, everything is a little different again. It's kind of fun figuring it out. But anyway, that is where I'm at. We'll stop the video here. I was just kind of exploring parts and ideas and things like that. But big thing is going to be how to make this thing look nice. And probably a little bit more exotic than what it looks like right now. It's kind of a basic looking design, but I suppose it kind of fits in a little bit with the design of what this was to some extent. As I kind of wanted it to look like it's, you know, it would go with that to more or less. Now, I even thought about like converting this over to SV size, but I don't think that would really accomplish anything for me. Besides having a like size class 7 super heavy SV, that would be kind of ridiculous. So it definitely had to be smaller. All right. Well, anyway, y'all have yourself a good weekend, and I will talk to you later. Probably Monday next week. I'll continue working on this guy. All right. See you later.